Good day, ladies and gents. This is the Ecclesiarch here, back to you with some more Horus Heresy Legions tier lists, and this is the one that you have been starving for, because I got none other than Alfarius himself on the tier list. So, Ozzy, how have you been doing?
I've been doing really well. I've actually branched out into doing a couple of guides. I've done a Lorgar guide, a Cash from North guide, and I did one for Warpforge last night with the Demon Prince.
Oh, I think I missed the Demon Prince one actually, so I might actually
Yeah,
have
I
to go
now
back
have
and
the
check that.
Legendary where he can throw himself at a unit. So I swapped my Terminator for that, but otherwise it's an Autist deck as usual.
Well, fair enough. Can't argue with the flavor. So, guys, today we got something interesting for you. So we are going to be doing a trait tier list for Horus Heresy Legions. So that means like stuff like rallies and resolutions and relentless and so on. Now, I think I've got all the stuff here, but if we do end up missing any, just leave a comment and we'll just reply there with our opinion. Now, considering we might not agree on everything, we'll try to average it out. So if, for example, Ozzy says S and I say B, it's an A. Something like that, right? So basically, I think we're gonna agree on most of these things, but in case something like that happens, we're certainly going to gotta be doing that. Now, you might also be wondering why we have some negative stuff here, like can't attack and so on, but Ozzy actually had a great idea. He said that some of these effects are not only on your own troops, but some of these can place it on enemy units. So, it's going to be very interesting discussing that that way as well. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in and begin, shall we?
All right, let's get to it.
You know what? Let's do it one by one. So you go first, I'll go second, and so on. So number one is, I think it's symbolic that we start from this. It's a rally. So what do you think about rally?
Yeah, rally has been an overall great mechanic throughout the entirety of the game. Like, all you have to do is just put the troop in play from your hand, and something happens. Yeah, there is always the possibility, say, like if you play the 9 energy where they put 3 Marines that cost 3 or less in play and give them drop pod, you could pull a rally ability, but you are getting the troop out. So it can be either swing or miss, but usually most of the time you are getting your rallies off.
Yeah,
So
this has always been one of the, poster boy traits, because for a game as fast as Legions, Rally is just insanely good. You just play something and it instantly grants you value. I think it's a really good one. So where would you place it?
overall, I would go for S tier because you had
Absolutely.
stuff like the Loken rally decks and they were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Rally has always been great, and they have kept Rally in Warpforge, and it's still great. So yeah, I think Rally is. If you're a new player, guys, you should understand that Rally is like a very high quality trait, because again, this is a very fast card game. The pace is very fast, it's very aggressive, so anything that grants instant value is usually by default at least good. Speaking of
Even if you
which,
have a unit, say like if it's 4 energy and 3/3, if it's got a decent rally ability, you are going to take that unit over a unit with decent stats but nothing else to it.
yeah, pretty much. Like, and don't forget that some of the rally units even have like really good stats. So it's pretty crazy, honestly. By the way, we got the cousin of the rally next, which is the spear tip. I'm actually gonna start from this. Um, well, spear tip is like a rally. It's just a conditional rally, right? So it has to be the first card that you play that turn in order for it to trigger. Now, in terms of flavor, absolutely perfect, because spear tip is the preferred tactic of the Sons of Horus, and it's really awesome in that sense. I think that just like Rally, this is extremely good. The only thing is that it is held back by a little bit of a condition, unlike the Rally. So I would say maybe like the top of A tier, because it's the same thing, basically, just has a little bit of condition. But in most cases, like whenever you're playing, this is still going to be the first card that you play. I would even say it's possible to put this in S as well, but I don't know. What would you say?
Well, it could technically work as a rally ability in itself. Say, like, if you're dropping Malaghost on curve, and then say, like, your planetary invasion goes down to 0. Like, yeah, it's effective when you're playing minimal spear tip troops, but you're getting immense value for the spear tips you're activating. Say, like, if Horus waited till 6 energy, drop a Catulum Reaver, it gets fast on spear tip, and then use Horus's ability to give it +1/1 and a mark. Say if you get caught on, that's +3/1, and then send it into the face.
So what's the verdict?
I'd go A, because it's not as good as Rally, because you
Same.
can cheese Rally abilities via bouncing.
Yeah,
Good
Rally.
old Ambassador Melgador.
Oh yeah, Melgator. Okay, yeah. PTSD. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. If Rally is like a template for S tier, I would say Spirit Tip gets an A, right?
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think it would be cool to actually do a drop pod next, since we're at the Sons of Horus theme. So what do you think about drop pod?
Drop pod. Drop pod has always been a great mechanic. You've had many ways of throwing units out with drop pod, or putting a load of chaff out with drop pods. So, like your old Abacle squads. They changed it to Ajax squads, which overall is better. It's gone from 2-1 with drop pod to 2-2 with drop pod. But I did overall enjoy the Abacle squads more. So with like Tarek Torgadon, he then got a passive bonus where he could give his drop pods +1/1. So it was overall a mix of 2 cards added together with him. The Blood Angels Hermia and the Imperial Army Drop Pod Assault. So Tarek Torgadon really synergized with drop pods well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, apart from that, on paper, even without any synergies, it's a protective shield around your units that allows them. Yeah, it allows them a little bit of survival.
Yeah, well, you also do need to watch out. Say, like, if you throw a unit with drop pod out and it has shield, your shield will get knocked out before the drop pod.
That's a good point.
But we'll save that for later.
When we get to shield.
Exactly.
I mean, overall, I think this is a very good mechanic. I think it's like, it's something that you will look at and you'll say, oh, neat, right? You'll never say, oh, come on, why this, right? Or it's mad. Nah, it's just a good extra layer of protection for a unit. And honestly speaking, I wouldn't say like it's as impactful as, say, Rally, but it's certainly a pretty good mechanic overall.
But throughout all the Space Marine legions, drop pod assaults have been a key strategy to Astartes warfare. Say, Steel Rain, like the Rangdan Xenocides, like, we lost 10,000 Marines, send in the next wave. That was the Dark Angels.
In terms of flavor, absolutely. That's exactly why I would have loved if drop pod was more active in this game and not like confined to, per se, Sons of Horus and Blood Angels. Nowadays,
Blood Angels have lost drop pod now.
Yeah, so
we don't have drop pod anymore on those.
Yeah, unfortunately not. So what would you say? Where would you put this?
Like, I would give drop pod an A tier because, well, it's flavorful, it fits in well with the lore, and yeah, it's an extra protective shell. So there's nothing like giving your troop an extra 2 HP for a temporary turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to not go like exactly through one by one. We might like take some from the, like in sequence, we might take some from the middle. Because, for example, right now, one of the things that I would like to talk about while we are on the subject of drop pod is the landing. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you're new to the game, because this has been kind of removed from standard, it's if your troop basically has a drop pod and the drop pod does not end up being destroyed on the enemy turn, at the start of your turn, your troop does something. And this used to be like a core mechanic of the Blood Angels. And they had a couple of things that could support this, mainly Hermia and they did get some really cool bonuses from that. Now,
Judgment of Angels as well.
yeah, absolutely. So it used to be a really cool thing. Overall, like very flavorful, very cool. In terms of strength, it is a little bit like it needs a setup. Okay, overall, I'd say it's like really, really good, but it's like less free compared to the others because you need to set this up correctly. Because if you just drop it, your opponent's just gonna face bash into it, and drop pods do not retaliate damage, so they'll just open it up. But there are scenarios where this is extremely good. But at the
But
same
that
time,
could
yeah.
also work in your favor as well. You are making the enemy divert their attack onto that drop pod to stop your landing ability, and it saves you, it buys you a bit of time.
Yeah, pretty much it does. So it could be like a way of stopping a face basher from face bashing, which is pretty good. Again, it does have some downsides, but it is a pretty good ability. So if I were to rate this, I'd either put this at the top of B or at the lower part of A. Just because it's not as free as the others, that's all. Otherwise, it's an amazing ability. I love it. What
I
would you
would go
say?
lower A because if you comboed it with flank, say like the old 6 energy Moritat, you could drop him, play Judgment of Angels, which for it used to be 2, but then went to 1, and you could attack with him. He'd destroy the troop with the highest attack on landing, and then you could send him into another troop to kill it. So you could practically get a double kill on that turn.
Yep. I'd say, yeah, fair enough, you know? Well, let's put it up there, right with his buddies. Now, might as well actually talk about two very similar things. We have the active energy ability and the active psyker ability. Now, I think we start from energy first.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And let's keep in mind there's like a topic of vantage without vantage. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, if we're going standard proc or instant proc, instant proc would be far better value, but you are having to either play behind curve or lower the cost of the ability. But base abilities, you could say like your Forge Master, 5 energy. You choose one of 3 Mechanicum troops, so it could be a 10 energy tank, and you put it in play. You've got good abilities and bad abilities. It all depends on what the ability is and how much it costs.
You make a good point there. This is what I would say about it. It does depend on the ability because there are some that are really good. Like, for example, take Kaizu Lane, right? It's very impactful. However, the reason why both Forge Master and Kaizu Lane, I think, are so impactful is that these units come with other strong abilities like shields and precognition. This is really fun. I do love active abilities and stuff, but in terms of them being scary, they're not that scary because most of the active abilities in this game like this are not that good. There are exceptions, of course. Namely, in Iron Warriors, this instantly becomes a better thing overall, and we'll get to that. However,
Remember the 6/6 Forge Master.
yeah, there you go. And maybe like you get your friggin' Fellblade tanks and anyway, so but if we generalize it and talk about like this ability as a general thing with all the others, this really needs something else. This needs like stealth or shield or something to make it good. By itself, for a fast game like this, I would actually even put the C because you first have to play a unit. That unit has to survive. Then you have to use energy to do something, and that something is either going to be good or not. I would say generalized, it could be C, but under the right circumstances, it could be like game changing. What do you think?
Yeah, there's nothing like giving a Promethium refinery flank so you can just play a Promethium refinery for practically 4 energy this turn. And it's a 5/10 and you refill 4 energy for free.
Yep.
But
Oh my god,
yeah,
that card.
if you're not doing bullshit strategy, yeah, I used to run that on Thaddeus Fail, by the way. The guard rush was insane. But yeah, if we're going on like abilities as like so like Horus Axeman, deal 2 damage for 2 energy. Yeah, it's cost efficient, but you're slowing yourself down and you're not able to develop your board or really do anything else but do that.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty much it.
I'd have to go C tier.
Same. I would even go for D if I knew that Vantage and all the other combo cool stuff didn't exist. But well, they exist, so there's that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, since we now have the same thing but with the Thousand Suns, it's a little bit different for the Thousand Suns because the Thousand Suns use psychic energy instead of this. They are known to have way more protective capabilities, like precognition, for example, and most
And a
of
second
their
energy pool.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
completely fair and balanced, by the way. Second energy pool.
very clever, am I right? Well, how could that go wrong? But
Yes.
just like how could the word bearer ability go wrong? But yes, and most Thousand Sun active abilities are really good. Though it does suffer from the same thing, obviously. It's that those units need to survive, and you do need to spend your psyker and psychic power, and a lot of things in Thousand Suns nowadays depend on psychic power. So I'd say it's not as good as the others, but it's certainly better than the energy one. So maybe I'd go for B. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go for B because psycho powers are better, but you've got a lot more ways of generating more psyker energy than you do standard energy because you have units with like psyker 1, psyker 2. You've got called a tutelary, bumping a psyker 1 up to a psyker 3, and that's practically a troop with the Blade of Honor Natural out. So yeah, overall, psyker abilities are better than standard abilities, but it all depends on how much psyker energy you can gain and what abilities you're using for the amount of psyker energy you're trading to use those abilities.
Yeah, that is very true because you also have the other abilities of the Thousand Suns, which we could, by the way, then discuss while we're on the topic, which is Focus and Arcana. For those
Yeah,
of you who don't know, Focus is basically like a rally ability. Your troop drops and you can pay Focus to, you can use Focus to pay some Psyker to get an extra effect. And Arcana is basically whenever you spend the psychic energy, like even 1 point, doesn't matter. Every instance you spend it, it does something. So let's listen to you on this one for the starters, and I'll also make my case on it. So what do you think?
well, Arcana, you don't see really ran much. There's not many Thousand Sun troops that have like Arcana, and the ones that do, some of the abilities aren't too great. Like the kind of chunky dude on Arcana who gives +1/1 to another troop. It's like you need him out, another troop out. That troop needs to survive, and you need to then generate psychic energy to spend it to then give something +1/1. Just take Call the Tutelary for 2 energy. But say like Legacy Araman, you've got the Arcana machine gun because you can give something precog for 2 psycho energy, and you can act again. So you've got some crazy stuff with old Thousand Suns and Arcana, but the new stuff isn't too great for Arcana. You're more focusing on focus abilities. And well, focus happens, you spend a certain amount of psychic energy to have, say, an additional effect. Your 6 energy kill spell, you can pay 6 psycho energy to then deal that enemy unit's attack to the enemy warlord, which is an even better instrument, which the old Alpha Legion have. I'm still salty about that. But yeah, Focus would be better than Arcana for me, unless we're talking Legacy.
I think you make a good point. Arcana does have a couple of good things, like the healer, for example.
Your
And
Rhino for draw.
yeah, which is pretty good on Ahriman, for example. But I mean, it's good, but it's not like something you build a deck around. It's a
Unless you're
neat little
playing
thing to have.
Magnus.
Well, I mean, Magnus himself gets it, and he has a
Yeah,
crazy
for Whisper.
ability for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I've done a few Magnus videos. They are crazy.
I would say Arcana would definitely go to B for me. I think it's good. I just think
Yeah,
that it's not that good. I mean, as an ability, it's not bad. It's just that there's not too many great things with it currently, unless, like, again, unless you talk in Legacy, which can be absolutely insane, but Legacy is insane itself, kinda, because there's crazy combos there. Focus, I'd say, can definitely go to A tier. I'd say maybe below Spear Tip,
yeah, below spear tip.
because it just has so many good effects, right? You got
Yeah,
removal, you got the double removal, you got the sneak on the Kenetai Blade Masters, you got shields. There's just a ton of good things with focus that
and
you
you've
could
even got
do.
the dreadnought. Yeah, if you lower the dreadnought through your numerologist, then it costs 7 instead of 9. But if you got a few psyker units out with abilities, and you can do a little machine gun with the dreadnought.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. So I'd say overall a pretty nice ability with focus. And as for the actives, they can sit and be, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd say it's symbolic to discuss a certain thing when you're talking about the Thousand Suns, and
Yeah.
yeah, so perhaps we talk about Ward.
Precognition, you mean?
Well, precognition and Ward, both very strong defensive abilities,
Well, yeah, but Ward was Space Wolves, remember?
and since we're talking about the Thousand Suns, that's why I mean it's symbolic to talk about Ward, the thing that's the bane of the Thousand Suns.
Mm. Yes, put in play a unit with both precognition and Ward.
The
Let's see the
Pyramid of
fandom
Photep.
shit out. Yeah.
I think I already spoiled it. Pyramid of Photep.
Oh, Photep, yeah.
That was pretty fun. I loved it,
Yeah, Photep was cool.
But aside from that, I honestly think that both of these abilities are S tier, simply
Yeah, they
because
are, absolutely. The value they provide.
it's
It's
insane.
like, you cannot kill this thing by doing X. You have to do Y or Z. Like, I love stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah, both of them are insane because that's like precognition existing. It's what makes Kaizu Lane so good. Because Kaizu
Exactly.
Lane, like if he didn't have precognition, yeah, he'd be easy to remove. And Ward is
Yeah,
just insane. Like,
if I can't punch you, I have to shoot you or nuke you. If I can't shoot you, I have to punch you or nuke you. If I can't shoot or punch you, I've got to nuke you. Like, it's a simple rock paper scissors. I like that type of stuff.
yeah, and I mean, there's also like another thing, which is that some units that have word, they were kind of like either stop me or lose the game. It's like,
Well, remember when the new word bearers came out and their 6 energy demons, like with how many offerings you get, then it puts that onto the stats. They had ward at first, so imagine dropping a 2020, like a 24/24 with ward. There's like no way you're dealing with that
yeah, there's just no physically like almost no way to deal with that. So yeah,
unless you were running old Iron Hands with Winnow the Weak, but that's legacy. So
yeah, there you go. Yes, or otherwise another random removal. So yeah, both of these abilities certainly deserve S tier.
absolutely.
Now, there's one that I really can't talk about because I really haven't had the chance to really try it, which is expertise. Now, one thing that I can certainly say is that one of the problems with it, we have basically the same ability in Warpforge. It's called Artifice, but the difference is that you almost guarantee every turn to trigger Artifice because warlords generate their talents in Warpforge, right? With
Yeah.
expertise, there's no such thing, but nevertheless, considering they get augments and stuff with the Shattered Legions, they probably will be able to do that. So, what's been your experience with expertise, guys? I really can't say much, so you'll have to rate this one on your own.
Well, I got 10 wins doing that funny Shadrach Meduson build in the event. He's got a way of lowering tactics cost, and he can generate cybernetic devotees, so that can keep your expertise going. But I've not had to rely too heavily on expertise. The 4/4 Raven Guard Rhinos with it, I like running on Sharokin because if you're using his ability, setting an enemy troop's health to 1, say drop a Hellstrike missile on it, that kills it. So you've got a troop in your hand that gets flank, but also the expertise goes off. So you're drawing an extra card from the Rhino while then taking board. It depends. You've got to build it to work around either your Warlord's ability or the faction's gimmick. Like that's how New Legions is moving towards. But with the Shattered Legions, you have been able to rely more heavily on your Warlord's ability to win new games, like with New Sharokin. But overall, expertise, it's been okay. Say you've got the 2 energy sustain Fusillade. 2 energy, deal 2 damage to a troop. That has reflection. So you do have some ways of cheesing your expertise, but you've really got to have the right hand and setup to cheese the expertise. So overall, I would go top of B tier.
Yeah, fair enough. You could cheese it, you could do it over and over again, so makes a lot of sense that you'd place this on B. You know, I smell another S tier, so let's just get it out of the way. Fast, I think, goes instantly to...
Absolutely. Fast is an S
It's on
tier.
top, I would even say.
Goldstone's Hunters, like that is the peak fast unit to use as an example. Goldstone Hunters. 3-2, rally. If you have another troop out on the board, this one gets fast. And you'd see all the Nasira Mitts run it with the 1-2 with flank, it gets fast. The Blood Angels Marine, that's 1 energy. Like there was like what I do is I drop that Marine, drop the Hunters, go face with the Hunters. Well, no, go face with the Marine first, just in case his Requiem hit a friendly troop, which was the Hunters, and they'd still have 1 HP to go face into the enemy and get another Requiem 1 damage to an enemy unit off on a mitt. So fast is an absolutely powerful mechanic. S tier all the way.
I mean, there is a reason why Everguild has been killing fast units over and over and over again. There's a lot of fast units that have lost it. That, Goldstone Hunters, Sire Clan Speeders, the Seekers of Slanesh, the
Sons of
Steel
Horus, they had a
Foxes.
common unit, 3 energy, 3-3, and it had fast inbuilt.
Yeah, and they still do in the Legacy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy stat, and I think it's like still one of the craziest things. I think currently I don't remember. The only one that I kinda can remember, I think in Warpforge, only the Orc Sire Clan Speeder, basically.
Right, yeah. And well, basically they redid Irresistible Charisma for the GSC.
Oh yeah, you're right. That also gives fast. I think that's the only 2 things currently in the game that have fast, and yeah, both of them are very good. That says something, right? So I haven't seen a fast unit in either of the games that is not like extremely powerful. So yeah, S tier all the way.
Outruns me.
Now here's I want to talk about one that I personally hate, and I think it's pretty trashy because there exists a better version of it. You know, I'm a big hater of Hunt. It's called Hunt, right?
Yeah, it's Hunt.
AKA the worst version of Savage.
Yeah, it's either go face into the Warlord or don't trigger Hunt.
And even the abilities on Hunt are not that good. Pack is a different story, though.
I made an Old Wolf deck, and that utilized his Old Wolf card to make the Hunt more viable, which I did the big Terminators that can do 4 to a random, and the Boulder squads and stuff. So, like, it's situational. Like, say, Russ's inbuilt Hunt is alright if you're just going face and being a monkey, but Hunt, you've got to use the Old Wolf if you want to really utilize that special gimmick for the Space Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, mostly Space Wolves are just bashing your face and using their pack and their ward. While Savage, on the other hand, is a different story because Savage triggers every single time. All you need to
Yeah,
do
you
is
attack.
attack.
Even if your units, even if the enemy troop dies, or even if your troop dies, like it's crazy. Savage is a good I like running Drager, pulling say either Fellblades or to Gem Vindicators, slapping them out, attacking on flank so it triggers Savage, and then playing the 2 energy where you can trigger Savage again. So I'm pumping out like 15 damage in a turn. Yeah, Savage can be crazy, and Hunt is just it's just too weak.
Yeah, the only thing that's a saving grace for Hunt is that it can also trigger, I think, when your troop dies, right?
Yeah, it can trigger when your troop dies, but the enemy troop has to survive. And if you're playing that outside of Russ, letting enemy troops live is not good.
Like,
You're giving them tempo.
like what kind of ability asks you, oh, it's better if this troop survives? Yeah, I would say I would honestly put Hunt in C, but I would
I
put
mean, the
Savage in
only
A.
way that would be good is if your opponent was playing Emperor's Children and heavily disorienting you. So you're smacking into each other, triggering abilities and
Yeah,
surviving.
that does
Apart
make
from that,
sense.
it's dog shit.
Yeah, but Savage on the other hand, I'd place in A.
Yeah,
Uh,
Savage, A.
I'd even place it like
I,
somewhere here.
I'd say it's even better than Spear Tip, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe it is because World Eaters, you gotta also consider what are the abilities each one of them have. Like,
Well,
I
my
mean,
Monkey Red Scour.
Red Scour, then you got the Apothecary, Cargos, then you got like stuff that you got Drach that just
Spellblades,
kills something,
Vindicators,
Fellblades.
Dreadnoughts,
Like all of those
Command
savage abilities are
Squads.
crazy.
Yeah, the Command Squad ability. +2 to all your units. Like, come on. Like, it's just purely aggressive shenanigans.
And don't
Like,
forget that
that's
like
how Savage should be.
yeah, it's in the name basically, so I agree. Overall, a pretty cool ability, and I don't even understand why it was necessary to give Space Wolves a weaker version of it. Just keep the Savage. They're savage enough,
Exactly.
so you know what I mean.
I love World Eater versus Space Wolf match. It's like, do you even rip and tear, bro?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. What about Pack though? Now, Pack is certainly a better ability.
On the other hand, Pack is a disgustingly powerful ability if you make it work. Remember when we had those Duo Legion events when stuff was getting rotated?
hmm,
I put new World Eaters with old Space Wolves, Lehman Russ.
that's
Like, that
disgusting.
was crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, Pack is crazy. So Pack works whenever something that doesn't have that Pack ability attacks. So like another unit. So if your Warlord's got Pack, whenever a troop attacks, your Warlord activates his Pack. And yeah,
And the
the
units
more troops
activate
you have
packs,
out
so
and the more attacks you can make in a turn, the worse it can get. So yeah, Pack I would go middle of A tier.
yeah,
Because
somewhere
there are
here.
some pack abilities that are trash, and there's some that are busted. Yeah, below focus.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Because most pack abilities are good, but some of them are meh. But you know,
Yeah,
it's a good ability compared to Hunt. It's like a godsend. So
yeah. And Ward
absolutely,
makes it so you have to engage the enemy troops in combat. You can't just target them with tactics. So you're either having to smack your troops into them, or you're letting their troops stand out there to get more reinforcements to trigger more pack abilities. So it's pretty crazy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely agreed with that. You know what? Another one that has always been weird for me. Not saying it's bad because it's a good catch-up mechanic and a good comeback mechanic, but courage has always baffled me as a mixed package because on one hand it's
Courage.
really good to take the game back, which is awesome. But like at the same time, it's something that really requires your opponent to be ahead to be useful because what if I'm ahead? Because I've had so many cases with these ultramarines that I'm ahead, I have the board, and I don't want to drop my honor guard, for example, because I don't want to waste the courage. But at the same time, if I'm behind, it's really good. So that's kind of gives me those mixed feelings. So what's been your
Yeah, but
experience?
old Ultramarines, it was supposed to be like that. It was you're stranded on Calth, we're in the Underworld War, and there's not really anywhere else to go. We're being swarmed by word bearers. We need to do something. So really, it used to be good, but now, well, the game is becoming more troop focused, but you are trying to control the board a lot more. So there's not many enemies out. If you want to play wide as Ultramarines, I don't recommend it because you're almost never getting courage off. You are required to be outnumbered. But yeah, when you're outnumbered, it can work. It's just you have to be outnumbered, and that's never a good sign when you're outnumbered. You're putting yourself into a bad situation just to get a slight benefit. I mean, Stellok, he used to be good, but you really required Stellok to. He could only take out the most dangerous troops. So his courage ability was good, but it was only good against a super massive threat. And if you needed to take other things out within the same turn, you're dropping 8 energy on Stellok. You can't really do anything else. So you are kind of tying a hand behind your back. That's my take on courage.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page with this one. So what's the verdict? What would you say?
Um, it's better than Hunt, so I'd have to go like top of C tier, but it's not B tier.
Yeah, I would say so too. I know Ultramarine players, every time I place this ability low, I know that you go crazy, but try to understand what we're saying here. When you're behind, it's great, but any ability, again, it's similar to Hunt basically. Any ability that kind of requires you to break the basics of the game, which is in Courage's case, try not to be behind, and in Hunt's case is just remove the troop. I think it kind of doesn't function too well. So
Yeah.
now
Also,
on
it
the
pleases Ignatus.
come again.
It also pleases Ignatus to see Ultramarines are C tier.
Yeah, it probably will. Speaking of which, I don't even have strategy included here because
Oh
strategy is
god.
just a fancy rally. It's rally
Yeah, it's just
basically.
pick one of two things or play a legendary card, both things happen. It's handheld gaming.
It's just rally, so we're just rated as rally.
Yeah, it's pick a rally effect out of these two. There you go, bucko.
Yeah, I mean, guys, in reality, I forgot, but honestly, it's not a big deal because it's literally the same as rally, so it gets ranked the same as rally,
Yeah.
so not much to
Yeah.
talk
What
about
would you
there.
like to do? Throw your 4-2 into something or hide it. Like, that's all it is.
What would you like to do? Deal 2 damage to a troop or the warlord? How about just rally deal 2 damage so that you can
Yeah. I
so
mean, then you've got like the courage, you've got deal 2 damage to a random enemy on rally, and then courage deal 2 damage to another random enemy. And it's like, okay, but I've got to be outnumbered, and it's only 2 damage. If I'm outnumbered by like 2 7/8, those 2 damage pings aren't going to do anything.
yeah, honestly speaking, considering how good Everguild is with making flavor, that's like one of their fortes based in my opinion. Strategy is friggin' lazy, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Speaking of which, speaking of which,
I mean, I
let's
don't know what kind of drugs they were on when they were making stuff like Night Lord and World Eater missions.
Night Lord mission, which is only viable on the guy who already has terror. Very,
Yeah, and you might as well just play Panoply of Slaughter instead.
yeah, pretty much. Why would you ever need this? I have no idea. Speaking of which, let's move to actually to terror and murder, since we
Yeah.
touched your favorite legion. So,
Oh god. Yeah. I made a
ah,
single
yeah.
Comrag murder deck, and it's like never again.
Speaking of which, terror is a funny one. Terror, and I would actually talk about terror and first strike together
Yeah, I
first.
think we should talk Terror and First Strike, and then add Murder on at the end.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, right off the bat, you could say that First Strike is kinda the better version. So because technically, I mean, you could make a case and say that that Terror allows you to attack even if you're not killing something. But realistically, both First Strike and Terror units have one thing in common, which is that for the most part they have very high damage values, which means they just one shot the target when they
And they
attack it.
usually come with flank as well.
Which is crazy
Stunning
because that's so
combo.
disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, like, you've got old Lucius and the new Phoenix spears. Like, give him first strike and then you can just start bashing everything off the board. But yeah, like terror and flank or first strike and flank, like the old hunting eagles for custodians,
Yeah, it's
they were
insane.
staple bullshit annoying units. And you couldn't really get rid of them unless you heavily devoted resources into getting rid of them.
And you can't even like drop something and hope for a trade because you know that the enemy's just taking it out for free, which is nuts. I think both of these abilities are pretty damn good. With flank, let's put it like this. If they have flank on top of it, and guys, listen to this well, if you freaking skip over their explanations and write in the comments, but what if it has flank? I'm saying it right now. So, if it has flank, it's S tier, both. If not, I'd
Exactly.
say like First Strike like goes high A tier, Terror goes a bit lower A tier.
Yeah, I'd say the exact same because, well, first strike, all you have to do is slay the enemy. You don't have to have a higher attack. You could Leroy Jenkins yourself into a 10-10 tank and finish it off. But, if you don't have 11 attack, your terror's going to do nothing. But yeah, giving flank makes them OP. But say like even if you were to have a unit on the board and it's ready to attack now because you've just started your turn. You end up giving it a Mark of Slanesh. It gets +1 in terror. It's already good like that because you've got some development going. Terror is reliant on development or giving it another mechanic as such as flank. First strike, you don't really need to rely too heavily on flanks and fast, but it just adds a bit of beef to the troop in itself because you're not taking any damage due to the first strike. So you can take a hit off something if you want to.
Yeah, plus let's not forget that when it comes to the other thing that First Strike has over Terror is that if a Warlord has it, which happens a lot,
Aim on.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's insane. While Terror is cool, but usually comes with like if you take the degenerate Vlad von Karstein wannabe Gendor, he has to
Oh,
sacrifice his
yeah.
own health to get the damage, while First Strike is just always there, and
Mm.
So I'd
But you
say,
could play Borrowed Power for 4 energy and temporarily get a bonus of +1 before losing 1 HP the next turn.
yeah, which I'd say no thank you to, mostly.
No, I'd rather go bankrupt.
Yes, I would actually place maybe this higher than Savage. What do you think? The First Strike, at least.
Yeah, First Strike is better than Savage. It's like, yeah.
Where does this go, though? Maybe something like this?
It's not like it's better than landing, but it wouldn't be better than drop pod and pack.
Yeah, fair enough. Because it's only that crazy because, like, understand us
It
correctly,
requires
guys,
additional things to be crazy.
which Night Lords obviously have. So if you have like an experience of, but I've been butt fucked by terror, that's because most Night Lords come with stealth and flank, which is what makes them so strong.
That's
So
why I always say terror and flank is a cringe combo.
yeah, it's
Like
disgusting.
the terror and flank separate, completely fine. Putting them together, like with the sex demon, nah, fuck right off.
Yeah, like the card that is an insta include to this day with almost every deck for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can understand why everyone's taking Factory Override because, well, decent source of draw and or energy ramp. But come on, man, a Terror and Flank.
Yeah, that's
Remember when it
nuts.
used to be 6 HP instead of 4?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that was actually my first Greater Demon,
Yeah, one
like
of the
out of the new Greater Demons.
same, same. for
And then I got
units.
Boxerfell. Big old Boxerfell.
The fat shit demon.
Ah, yes. Mr. Shit My Pants himself.
Yes. Speaking of which, murder.
Murder, murder, murder.
Murder is
Hmm.
pretty good overall because, like, it's a nice extra layer, and it does come with a faction that mostly has higher attack than health.
Hmm.
And they
Yeah.
do trigger it most of the times, and some of their effects are disgusting. Obviously, just most of the times it just requires you to be sacrificing whatever has murder as well. In most cases, not always.
Yeah, like your like the 8 energy like tank things, they have murder.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
then you
mean
got the
it's okay,
Leviathan and
but
stuff.
the enemy's HP has to go to -1 or less for it to trigger. So if
Yes.
you're sending stuff to 0 HP, you're not going to get any extra benefits. You need to be like overkilling them. And sometimes overkilling things is not the best way to go.
Yeah, because that means that if you want to overkill, you might have to commit an extra attack with your warlord, and you
Yeah,
know
like
all
you're having
that.
to send damage into other things where you could be sending it into the warlord to win the game quicker.
Yeah, it's very similar to the only thing this has over, let's say, Battle Honor is that Battle Honor is an old mechanic, so it still requires the user to survive.
Yeah, but Terror doesn't. Like you can die and Terror still be triggered.
Yes. So I'd say this could go B, I would say maybe.
Yeah, lower B tier. Yeah,
Yeah, like this. And
yeah.
I'd say Battle Honor has to go to C.
Um, yeah, top of C tier because with some of the combos you can use, it can be really good.
Yeah, there are some interesting combos with it, but Everguild, of course, ruined the most fun one, but still, which was
Well,
the
yeah.
Fierce Onslaught.
Oh, that on the Emperor's Children 10 energy Titan because it had cleave
That was
10.
so good.
Yeah, just hit troop, and go face. That's 30 damage to the enemy warlord in 3 hits.
Speaking of flavorful stuff, there's the Exemplar. Now, Exemplar and Sentinel can be kind of considered as the same thing. I was thinking whether or not to include Sentinel, but overall decided against it because, like, back in the day with the old custodians, Sentinel was just a drawback. It was just meant to be a drawback and nothing
Yeah, but
else,
then you had Orphans of War, and they could give the enemy warlord Sentinel for a turn.
which was pretty nuts as well.
Yeah,
That was
Pirate
insane,
Leahy loved that.
honestly. And like now, it actually comes with a positive as well, which is the Exemplar. So basically, everything that is Exemplar, I think, has the Sentinel, like troops, I
Mm.
mean. And it's flavorful, obviously, because you're playing a custodian, and it requires you not to play other custodians because the custodians are lions and they fight alone, unlike the
Yeah,
Astartes who are wolves, right? I love the
and the
flavor.
only positive to Sentinel would be is stopping overdraw like at the start of your turn, and Alpha Legion traps, of
Yes.
course. Many a
Yes.
Custodians player has shafted me out of a good trap deck.
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, in terms of that, it's like, but here's the thing. Nowadays, when I look at the custodians, most play Nemesis decks rather than the
Well,
Exemplar
yeah.
decks. Mostly
I mean,
because
Amon right
Nemesis.
good.
Go
Yeah.
on.
Amon is good right now with his Nemesis and stuff because he also has First Strike inbuilt. But yeah,
Yeah,
he's pretty aggressive. But there's some exemplar effects that you can run, like the guys who can deal 3 damage to something twice.
mm-hmm.
But you are more reliant on his Nemesis, like the bikes and stuff, because they can also buff his attack.
Yeah, the thing just is that, like, the flavor is amazing, but it's so hard to get something like Sentinel to work in this type of game because Exemplar, not only does it require you not to play other custodians, but you also know that whatever has Exemplar has Sentinel, right? In most cases. So the ability that's basically relentless, by the way. And like it's just a relentless with double drawback. Like you got
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it is. Like it's relentless but with two drawbacks. And
The
now
only person I see like running stuff like Exemplar right now is Dusk, like his double Exemplar trigger card,
Mhm.
like Magna Imperator. That's because he gains like Survivor 1. It used to be Survivor 2, so you were gaining Survivor 4 doing that, but now it's only Survivor 2. But the only person I see running like stuff like Sentinel and that, well, Exemplar, is like Dusk. And apart from that, you don't even see Valdor run much Exemplar
yeah, I mean
because Valdor's Reckoning is not worth it. His old one used to be better.
yeah, the old one was like pretty cool. And again, like for this type of a game, two drawbacks for an ability that already existed in the game is not good. And the custodians don't even come with that amount of crazy stats as they used to. Like back in the day, custodians were very bloated in stats. And I think maybe I'm tripping, but like nowadays I don't think they have that great of stats.
They
So
but they needed to be bloated in stats to be able to
exactly.
contend with their Sentinel. But nowadays, the custodians like they are much weaker overall. But the way you could have countered that Sentinel was giving each custodian like custodies an inbuilt card draw within itself. Say like I think it's your Dankatai Wardens or something. It's
Mm-hmm.
the 6 energy guys. They have a battle honor and first strike, where if they kill something, you draw a card. So it's negating their Sentinel.
Yeah,
So if Custodies had more ways of drawing cards through their Custodians, then they'd be a lot more. They'd be able to be a lot more lenient on the stats with Sentinel as well.
agreed. Absolutely. I'd say this
But they
goes to
just
the
lack draw.
bottom. This just goes to the
Yeah.
bottom of
Um,
C, but I'd say this goes to high A, maybe somewhere like
yeah.
this. High B,
Like you
sorry.
put it in B. Yeah. Yeah. High B.
Or maybe low A.
Above murder and arcana, but below expertise.
Yeah, I think that's the best one because it's still very situational. Like, what if you're playing against Imperial Fists? Good job ever triggering that. Like, good
Yeah,
luck.
good luck playing against cultists and chaff.
Yeah, that's the problem. So again, too many downsides to be higher, I think.
Yeah, the only thing you're probably procking that against is Cygnus demagogues and insurgent leaders, and they'll be getting rotated with the neutrals that are coming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, how about we talk a little bit about our bitter boys here with Vantage and the Attrition.
Attrition. Mm. Should we go attrition first?
I'd say Attrition is a good start. I'd like to say a few words about this. I love the mechanic itself. I think it's like super flavorful, very cool, and I love Attrition decks. But the problem is that they don't really exist. I mean, they exist, but like they're not that reliable. Like Iron Warriors legit have a lot of very cool attrition combos, but in terms of like being competitive, they're still stuck with the Vantage, the Azzie420 combo. So you know it's
Oh
I
my god, yeah.
the
The
problem.
Herald of Ruin.
Yeah, the problem with Iron Warriors is that they are too reliant on that single combo, and they're much more reliant on Vantage itself, and they have so much support for Vantage, by the way, that is really
Yeah, but it's
cool.
not like we have Erasmus Golg anymore, do we?
No, we do not have it anymore. And in terms of like having attrition, I'd say attrition is not bad because it just automatically triggers when something doesn't active. And Iron Warriors really do have a lot of those. So in my opinion, it's better than these guys in C for sure. But I'd say it would be somewhere like down in B, like somewhere like this, because
Like, it is above murder, in my opinion,
yeah,
because
it
you
could
have
be.
reliable ways of triggering it, and you have ways of reducing your unit slash troops ability cost. So, like, if you get your Purty's Whisper off, for a while he's then got a passive of all your troops' abilities cost 0.
Yeah, which
So
is
you
pretty
could have like
nuts.
4 energy abilities cost nothing. And that becomes pretty crazy. Especially on attrition, say like hardened armor, and you're proccing multiple abilities. So like you're proccing 4 abilities in a turn, you're healing 4 to everything.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. With Vantage, I'd say Vantage could stick to A, because Vantage single-handedly makes one of the worst abilities, which is the active energy ability, into a devastating ability.
Yeah, it does.
So maybe somewhere
Yeah,
here?
it's better than pack. I'd put it just below focus.
Yeah, I'd say fair enough. Because, yeah, but I would really love to see Iron Warriors get other ways of winning games. But, well.
Oh,
Oh, speaking of
well,
which,
siege.
Siege. Siege by itself is the worst mechanic in the game, I would say. Iron Warriors just used to have a lot of ways of,
Loading siege,
loading,
yeah,
yeah.
attrition warfare and stuff like that.
Because
Like,
imagine, by itself on a unit before Vantage existed, it used to be the worst mechanic in the game. Play a unit, make sure it survives, then waste energy to load it, then make sure it survives again, and then waste more energy to shoot it. Oh my
unless
god.
you were playing Kroger,
Yeah. Who
like
just
Kroger was
keeps.
so autistic back with old Iron Warriors. Precision bombardments, Contrador, oh my god.
Yeah, that used to be really good. I agree.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Speaking of which,
Remember when I slapped you with Contrador and Vengeful Spirit that game?
oh my god, that was so crazy. The two of the like big low HP
Yeah, you
police
were running
cards,
Exodus, I was running Peter Turbo.
and suddenly
It's
Contrador
time
and the
for
Vengeful
Decimation.
Spirit. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I did the line and then drops 2 heavy hitting cards on you.
Like nobody expects the Vengeful Spirit coming after the Contrador.
No one does.
Speaking of which, two more abilities that are very similar. Actually, three. Let's talk about these three: Resolution, Relentless, and Pride.
Ooh. Yeah. Relentless, out of the 3, is always going to be my top spotter out of the 3 because it always goes off at the start of your turn. Against Old Death Guard and their poison, it used to be your troop got poisoned. Like there were no stacks of poisoned. It was just at the end of your turn, if a troop's poisoned, it dies. Mortarion used to be able to stun lock you and poison your stuff. But with Resolution, it wouldn't trigger because it dies before it can trigger the resolution. Relentless, even in the game's tips and tricks screen on the side, it says Relentless always triggers first. And that in itself is what makes it such a great mechanic because it triggers first before everything else.
The only downside that it has is that the troop has to survive to trigger it, but against things like Death Guard, certainly it used to be like hell dealing with it.
Yeah, but if you get say like poison 3 and it ends up killing you off with the poison, Relentless triggers before the poison 3 triggers. So you're getting your ability off.
Yeah, you get the
And that's
value.
why I've always liked Relentless. Amadeus Decane as well.
Oh, Duquesne used to be very fun. Duquesne used to be very fun. Resolution and Pride is another example of like, I mean, again, you're adding an ability that already exists, but slapping a condition on it.
Hmm. And eventually with Amadeus Decane, if you put like Pride troops next to him, he'd eventually heal them back to full health. So eventually you'd stop triggering Pride. Resolution just always triggers at the end of your turn.
Yeah, Pride always. I mean, whenever I play Iron Hands, I mostly do not have a problem triggering it because augmentics exist to combo with it, so it is a very viable way to play. I'd say all three of these abilities are really good. And in terms of Relentless, guys, I'll tell you one thing. Relentless might have the problem of having to survive, but don't forget, Relentless abilities are notoriously annoying, which means that your opponent, just like with like landing, is just forced to beat down on. down on
Exactly. You
you.
have to deal with them, or you're going to have problems.
Exactly. I'd say all three deserve like A and high spots. I'd even say.
Hmm. But if you slap enough augmetic hearts on something, when it eventually triggers the survivor, it'll go back to full health, and then you won't get a pride ping that turn. You'd have to then cause another source of damage to it. So you are having to take away a slight bit more resources into yourself than the enemy.
That is true. I'd say if these guys like go somewhere
Yeah, we
like
put them
here,
all together.
well, let's just
We
put them
put
all together.
relentless, yeah, relentless first, resolution, then pride.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm more of a resolution guy, but I have no problem with this. All three are pretty good. Relentless,
That's
like
what makes us Chad.
again, like relentless guys. Don't forget, all relentless abilities used to be so annoying that you just have to kill them off. Otherwise, it's trouble. So yeah, and plus, I mean, there's there's also the case that a lot of Iron Hands troops, the old ones at least, used to be like very heavy. So they were not that
The
easy to
early game
remove either.
squads, they had a rally deal 2 damage to a random enemy and relentless deal 2 damage to a random enemy. They were
Yes.
crazy.
Here's an interesting one, which is Bloodlust, and this is a very hard one to rate because if you're talking about Karn, if you're talking about proper killing from Warforged, if you're talking about anything that gives Bloodlust to Warlords, it is catastrophic. But with troops, it's usually not that crazy because they have to survive and then they also have to have enough HP left to attack twice. In some
Don't make
scenarios,
me
this could.
tap the Shabron Dar video.
Oh, Shabrandar with the friggin' mission.
Chosen of Corn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the interesting thing. And you know, again, I hate the Cyric Landspeeder nerf because it nerfed the mission.
Yeah. But to be fair, like sending them from fast to flank, like they did with the 5 energy Emperor's Children perfection bites, where they get +3 attack, they went from fast to flank.
Or the Steel
Like,
Foxes.
yeah, everything got nerfs, which used to be like staple ways of playing. But then we got recompensated via new things where we could do something slightly different, but have practically the same effect, basically.
Yeah. What would you say with Bloodlust? I'm not sure. This is very tricky. You know,
I mean,
I'm gonna make a
yeah,
tricky tier. I don't know.
wild cards here.
Yeah, let's say wild card. Actually, I like that. And I'd
Yeah,
say Bloodlust goes
Bloodthirsty is
there.
a wild card mechanic. Like, you give it to a warlord, absolutely crazy. You give it to certain troops, even crazier. Like, the new Space Wolves, they have an 8 energy guy. He's got 8 attack, 8 health. He has Ward and Bloodthirsty. But or even like the World Eaters, the Devoured. He
Yeah.
gives all Berserker units Bloodthirsty. You can give them to like your Red Butchers, like the big troops that gain a mark of chaos on Savage. Them with Bloodthirsty is a OTK material. So it can be a powerful mechanic, but it depends what you're putting it on.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Oh, speaking of which, when we discussed word and precognition, we forgot the third cousin, goes to
Oh
S.
yes, ah yes, the Zermol ability
Yeah, the Zermal ability, the friggin' ability that is terrifying to deal with because, oh my god.
gives my Warlord duplicitous against Angron.
Yeah, it's just, it's just, all of these defensive abilities are just so strong. It's
Defensive
crazy.
mechanics are supposed to be strong, like because say like Salamanders and their Survivor, like yeah, they're a loyalist legion, and they're supposed to be like holding out and coming back reborn in the flames. Like they're supposed to be powerful mechanics because they are mostly defensive type factions.
Oh, speaking of which, do we also play Shield in S? Because, like,
Shield, absolutely, it absorbs all damage from one attack, like from one source of damage. Like it could be 1 damage or 100.
yeah, it's pretty insane, honestly. That's do you remember one of the reasons why Forge Master was nerfed is because it comes with a shield? There's also that 5 energy mechanicum guy that draws a vehicle, got its shield removed. Goes to show how powerful it is.
The guy who also buffs other mechanicum units, he's 6 energy now.
Yeah. So it's like...
I think it's Archmagos Myr.
Yeah, I believe that's the guy. Shield is just nuts, man.
Yes, shield is a crazy strong mechanic. And you've got, like, Thousand Suns. Give shield psyker power and focus 3, give it to your adjacent stuff as well.
Yeah, the kind shield's crazy. Man.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's another defensive mechanic that's pretty interesting, which you got gutted. And I like that it got gutted because it was nuts, which is stealth. Because if you guys don't remember, stealth units used to be permanently stealth, unless 1/5
watches in the dark with perma stealth.
Oh,
everything was just getting jammed as soon as it got put out.
Yeah, and Raven Guard also used to have some crazy stealth units that would just place sentencing on you. Now it's much more manageable because EG have also been consistently keeping stealth unit health under 4, so that you can easily remove them. It's still
remember when Raven Guard was basically, oh no, I'll keep my Mordathan's stealth, give you sentence 2, then deal 5 damage to you
every single turn, and you can't do anything because it has 5
stealth. Raven Guard Contrador in 2 troops.
Yeah, and
crazy.
Do you actually know what stealth used to be like at the start of Warpforge?
Yeah, I didn't. I only played a little bit at the start of Warpforge, but it used to be like it used to make camouflage completely inept.
Because the funny thing was, you could attack with stealth and still be stealth as long as you attacked the same turn that you dropped. So you would have Tyranids flanking into you and killing you and still be stealthed. It was so
Jesus
stupid.
Christ.
It was so stupid.
That is deep shadow operation. How are space cockroaches conducting shadow operations?
That's a good question. I'm glad that they're no longer conducting them because that was nuts. So, I would say it's a powerful ability, not as strong as the others, considering just how many anti-stealth we get these days and how low their health is, but it's still disgusting. It's one of the reasons why Raven Guard is so hard to deal with, and one of the reasons why Night Lord Terror is so good, because, again, if they don't have flank, they have stealth. So it's
but then you've got like Children of the Night, 4 energy. It gives like flank to all your Night Lord troops in your hand. You've got the +1/1 to units with terror, on top of giving them stealth. Like Raven Guard, you've got Signal the Assault, +1/1 base, anything that's stealth +2/2. So you could pull things out of Cull of Cowardice range, but then you've got stuff like Mechanicum Zyvolta Thalaxes that can 1 energy vantage, deal 4 damage to a random enemy in stealth. That is actually good for saying no to Corvus Corax when he plays Lunar Eclipse.
Yeah, pretty crazy, honestly. It's either S or top of A, I don't know.
I would say S tier. Like, Same. Stealth is an S tier mechanic.
Yeah, it's nuts. It single-handedly makes 2 factions disgusting, so yes.
Wait, we've already done fast. Why have we not done flank?
That's a good question. Now, by the way, before anyone says anything, the fact that units were nerfed from fast into flank and they became obsolete after that doesn't mean much. Mostly because...
No, but you can still act when you put it out. It's just you can't go face with it anymore. You can take out a troop still.
Yeah,
you can still do things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or say a unit with an ability that has flank, it can still use its ability to say if you've got a 3/4 and it's gone from fast to flank, but it's got a 2 energy ability to deal 2 damage. You could still shoot the enemy warlord for 2 damage on your turn if you played it behind curve a little.
That's actually a very fun thing with Warpforge, because the Baneblades and Lehman Russ tanks basically get to shoot face if they're flanking. A lot of people don't know that, and it's really funny.
I used to combo flank with ability procking, and that was my Vantage before Vantage come out. And when I heard we were getting Vantage, it's like, oh, instant proc, nice.
Yeah, what I was actually saying was basically in defense of flank, because The reason
Yeah,
why, for example, Psyker land speeders are no longer that good is because that unit was meant for something else, and they just lazily removed the
yeah, it
ability and
was
gave
meant
it
for the
flank.
tempo and aggro.
Yeah, so that's why it's useless, not because flank is bad. Flank is like, I'd say it's an S tier ability actually.
Yeah, but it still feels good not taking 7 damage off Angron anymore in a single turn.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Where would
Like,
you
because you
place it
just go
though?
face, then drop the speeder.
Where would you place it
I
though?
I would go S tier.
But where, like in the S tier, is what I
Hmm.
mean.
In between stealth and shield.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's really good. It's really, really good. And it's
Yeah,
one of
and it
the,
really is one of the only ways to counter duplicitous units effectively.
or ward units even.
Yeah, ward units as well.
Absolutely. While we're on the subject of stealth, what about ambush?
Ambush. I've always liked ambush. There's not been too much synergy for ambush. Like, you've got your Raven Guard heavy weapon squads, and whenever something triggers ambush, you can deal 3 damage to a random enemy. You're not able to trigger ambush too many times in a turn for it to be effective, that passive. But ambush abilities in themselves can be great. Like you've got your Void Dark Furies, their ambush gains sneak attack this turn.
You got the double
And,
legendaries.
well, yeah, exactly. And you've got stuff like your Sergeant Reichs, sentence 1 to everything on the enemy's board. Like, ambush can be a really powerful mechanic, but you've got to make sure your things survive and don't have their stealth removed. I mean, yeah, you have ways with Raven Guard, the 3 energy tactic to just give everything stealth this turn of your troops. But really, you're not going to be running that too much. So it can be circumstantial, but it is in itself a powerful mechanic. I would go lower A tier with it.
Where exactly would you push it?
Um, Above Terror.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say.
yeah. But
Same
it's
for me.
less reliable than Drop Pod.
Yeah, that's for sure. In terms of reliability, it's certainly there. You know what? While we're at the defensive mechanics, I'd say Survivor also gets to go S. This is single-handedly
Survivor.
one of the most disgusting abilities because it
And it can be
messes up so
comboed
many
with
things.
Sacrifice.
Yes, it can be comboed with its own other ability, and it's just so disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. There was nothing like giving your cultist sorcerers multiple survivors and then just procking their sacrifice over and over for lesser demons. Remember when you could put in 5/4 Slaneshi Demonettes fast? I did that with Realm and dealt like 20 damage to a Valdor in 1 turn.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Yeah.
it's an S tier ability in my
Um,
opinion, actually.
yeah. Salamanders have always been good because of their survivor. Like, you
I'd
can't
say
just knock stuff off the board. You have to you have to fully commit into things, and that can really slow your tempo down. And if you lose too much tempo, you're screwed.
what about sacrifice though, considering it's not only a salamander exclusive ability nowadays?
Sacrifice is pretty good, in my opinion. You do need to combo it with either Survivor or Flank and Fast to make it truly effective.
Or word bearers?
Well, yeah, or like something you can just like, oh yeah, there's nothing like slapping down a unit that's big statted, going face with it, and then playing like Glistening Determination, getting its attack step back in health healing, and also triggering its sacrifice. But by itself, sacrifice, it is a good. Hey, look, this thing has sacrifice. You need to deal with it, or something's going to happen if I just trade it on my turn. So it's a good little it's a good little bait mechanic, in my opinion. I always baited my cultist sorcerers.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I would go top of B tier, above expertise.
Same, I think so. The only reason why it goes in B is because, well, technically speaking, unless you combo it, it's not that
Yeah,
strong.
you do need something else to make it really good.
Okay, what about the degenerate ability, the
Ah,
disorient?
Funkmaster Eidolon. I've done quite a few Eidolon games, and it can actually win you the game. Disorient, I do recommend. You do have to run it on Eidolon because Emperor's Children can't really effectively use Disorient unless you're doing living icons, and that's only 2 turns worth of stalling cards. And well, your 2 energy Sonic Blast type thing.
Or
Um,
the troops, but I mean, for the most part,
yeah, but like your Xandasus Cacophony for 5 energy, what you really want to do that is send that into the Warlord's face. It disorients the Warlord, and then use Eidolon's purple card and deal 5 damage to a disoriented enemy, which is the Warlord. So you're dealing 10 with them 2 hits.
I think the
But
disorientation ability, the main strength of it is not what it does. I think it how much it disorients the player itself, because whenever this
it
drops,
makes them stall.
yeah, you just
Yeah,
can't risk because you're like, okay, what if it goes wrong? So it's like,
yeah. I mean,
uh,
it's all well and good sitting there until I disorient one of your berserker units. That has to punch.
yeah, it's crazy, honestly. I'd say it's a pretty high A tier ability.
Like I would put it in A tier, just above spear tip.
Yeah, it's insanely good. The only problem with it is sometimes Slanesh is not on your side and they still attack your face and you die, but
I mean, yeah, but it is worth it to do because
yes.
you're making them attack a random enemy, and it's not guaranteed what they're going to hit. They could either smack themselves in the balls or smack you in the balls.
Yeah, pretty much. There's
It's all balls
also
in the end.
it's all cocks in the end. Oh, okay. So, speaking of which, let's might as well talk about
Perfection.
perfection.
Mm.
I mean,
I'm going to be heavily biased and say S tier because I mained EC back in the old days.
perfection is just so good because it's just like the codex from Warforged, basically.
It's better than Codex because you can trigger perfection on 0 energy. Like, say,
Yes.
what you could do is, say, like, what I used to do was play a For the Emperor and have both my diversionary tactics come down to 0. So I could, like, trigger perfection 2 or 3 times in a turn if I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's like it's a mechanic that teaches you to play on curve, which is great for newer
And,
players.
well, it also teaches you, like, to count. Well, I know that sounds pretty silly, but teaching you to count. But
Manage your
it's like,
energy.
yeah, manage your resources of when and how to play cards as well.
Yes. I'd say as well, I'd put it in S. Above,
And if you wanted to, you could play 2 cards with perfection, forego a perfection ability to trigger the other one that you wanted. So it also helps you make critical decisions.
yeah, it maybe does have a small downside that if you can't trigger it, it's not that good. But I mean, come on, who
Remember when
cares?
Hold at All Costs refilled 5 energy instead of 3?
Yes, I do.
That was spicy.
Yeah, I'd say a pretty powerful ability. What about Raven Guard sentencing? The oh so disgusting ability that just gonna one shot you from 30.
Pirate fun fact: lethal exposure.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, sentence. Well, did you see that video where I did Gareth Arendi and I gave an Iron Hands 10 energy tank sentenced 5?
Ugh.
If not, I gave a tank sentenced 5. Like, yeah, there's no coming back from that. Once you start stacking sentence to a high enough level, even just chip damage is going to seriously hurt your enemy.
Yeah, it's in my opinion an S tier ability. somewhere here or here.
Yeah.
It's like really good, honestly.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter where
Well,
I place it, it's just S tier because I mean
old Raven Guard, you could get the enemy Warlord on their own, slap a couple sentence on, and then play your 2/3 energy, deal 1 damage 3 times to a
yeah,
random
it's
enemy.
over. And
Yeah,
we
and yeah, so sentence 3, that's 12 damage per 3 energy.
I mean on top of that, like we have another ability cosplaying as sentenced in Warforged, which is the
Oh,
vulnerability.
Marker Lights. Yeah,
Marker
kill
light and
all power, by the way.
vulnerability. And both are
Yeah.
terrifying, like and vulnerability like especially. So yeah, it goes
I'm
to
pretty
show just
sure
how
Marker
strong it
Lights
is.
ignore your armor, don't they?
Marker lights do not ignore your armor. It's just that it's usually one, so it always just deals the damage. I'm not
Right,
sure.
well, no, I'm pretty sure I had an armored unit, had like Marker Light 2 on me and still took 2 damage even though I had Marker, armor 1.
That's pretty interesting. I'll have to check
I'm
that, but
pretty sure Marker Lights avoid your armor.
that makes it even stronger. But yeah,
Exactly.
even without that, it's really strong. So yeah, that goes to S tier.
Yeah,
Speaking of S
absolutely.
tiers, there's a couple that I would also drop there. I think Rage is also S tier. I'll be honest because
Absolutely.
it's just so disgusting. I'd even place it somewhere here because
Absolutely. And the
it.
less damage you receive is making it more efficient per rage ping. If you're taking 1 damage, it's 1 damage per rage ping.
Yeah, it's very disgusting, and
It can be cost effective as well.
that's why Rage abilities had to be nerfed across the board with World Eaters. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yes, good old Wraith and his Wraith's Berserkers.
That used to be so good as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about Requiem?
Requiem. I've always loved Requiem. It's been an aggressive ability compared to Landing. Landing's more the control ability. Uh, Requiem, it's been flavorful. You have to witness things die next to you, and it's the grief building up. Like my old Sanguinius deck I made like quite a while before they rotated. Don't know why, but I called it Hawk Tour because the fly flies, but the Hawk tours. And yeah, it just like Blading Carmine, and I was using his ability, so it was like 4 Requiem pings in a turn with the mission, and I was running that on like Angel's Tears. So yeah, that's like 12 damage in a turn just by spamming Sanguinius's ability. And overall, I really enjoyed Requiem. Also, like with airlifted reserves, say you had Meros or Nasiramet, you could start reducing your airlifted reserves costs way sooner than with any other Blood Angel Warlord.
Yeah, I mean, it's flavorful, it's good. Does need a setup though, but some of the
Yeah, a little
abilities
bit.
on that are pretty good. I'd say it's better than Landing for sure. I'd even say maybe somewhere here actually. I don't know.
Yeah, it's slightly better than Landing, but Landing is better in its own certain way as well.
Yeah, actually,
I
it
mean,
could even be below Landing actually.
yeah, but both abilities do require the enemy taking their focus off of you and onto your troops that have those, because you don't want them triggering that.
They're soft front lines basically.
Yeah, they are. They're front lines by proxy.
Yes. What about the new ability Avenge?
I do like Event. I've done a bit of stuff with Rolderon, the 9 energy Dreadnought. I do have Encarmine Fury, so I can make all the Avenge in my deck go up as well. It can be situational. Really, what you need to do is have ways of spamming chaff with Avenge. You need certain Avenge cards in your hand near or at the start of the game to get the most value out of them. But once you start getting things out and they start dying and those cards start witnessing those deaths, the revenge goes up, and once you have enough, it can become a really powerful ability. It just it requires quite a lot of setup. I would rather just stick to Requiem builds over Avenge, but it is nice to take units with Avenge.
Maybe these three just go together, honestly.
Yeah, I would put them together.
Yeah, I'd say that's the correct way to go about it. When it comes to Ordnance, Ordnance is a tough one, honestly, because Ordnance can be really good if enemy has vehicles, but I mean,
Remember when Ordnance didn't exist and Rack and Ruin was the only form of Ordnance we had? It was deal 4 damage to an enemy. If it's a vehicle or structure, deal an additional 10.
That was so good.
And then it changed to deal 4 damage, Ordnance 10.
Yeah, Ordnance is like my problem with Ordnance is that vehicles are not that popular for it to be super effective.
Like, if we got more ways of playing vehicles and structures, then Ordnance would be more useful. But Ordnance in itself is a deterrent to vehicles and structures. Remember how old Santar had his ability? Deal 3 damage to an infantry or Astartes, 2 to anything else. So if you ran demons, custodians, or
Vehicles.
structures, you were only dealing 2 damage to it. So if you were up against Santar, you were playing more other things than what they were benefiting from getting the most damage out of. It's more a, don't come over here, I've got a shotgun and I will shoot you with it. It's like a deterrent.
Yeah, I would say B.
Yeah, like middle of B tier, in between Arcana and Nemesis, I'd say.
You'd even put it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Honestly, I'd say it's B, mostly because of how much it dictates what is like.
What can and can't be played.
Yeah, it's just that like my problem with this is honestly that I'm not sure if you ever take a card because it has Ordnance.
Well,
That's
here
the
we
issue
go.
with it.
Tear to pieces. 1 energy mechanicum card. Deals 1 damage. Ordnance 3. You can take out quite a lot of early game, say like Iron Shield Rhinos. You're dealing with that problem instantly for a fraction of the Rhino's cost.
Oh, that is very true. That is very true.
Exactly.
Okay, we got a couple of these bad boys left, so let's talk about Sneak Attack, which is similar to Terror and First Strike, but better than both.
Nasir Scouts.
Yeah.
Sneak Attack, it's self-explanatory. Like, there's a few ways of gaining Sneak Attack nowadays. Let's say if you punch with a troop while you're playing Alisari and the Dark Angels,
Or
you
Void
get
Dark
Sneak Attack.
Furies.
Void Dark Furies, like I mentioned with the Ambush. Night Lord counter. Yeah, Sneak Attack, it's great. You know, you deal damage, you don't take any in retaliation. Yeah, overall, like, if you've got ways of buffing low statted units with Sneak Attack, like your 1/1 Sneak Attack with flank for the Dark Angels, Ravenwing, like that can start being buffed with the Cola. And yeah, you're putting out like a 7/7 with flank and Sneak Attack. That's going to be hard to deal with. Like, it's a powerful mechanic on its own and only gets more powerful when you add extra things on top of it.
I'd say
So I would go S tier.
Same, it's just that sad that we almost don't have this ability anymore.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is a very powerful mechanic. I mean, you've got these Sisters of Silence and their 4/4s with flank on
that's
rally.
also very true. Bastion, but now we're not talking about like Bastion gained from Defenders of Terra, but rather Bastion itself. So
yeah,
Bastion
like
makes...
what, already on a unit, or like say we can like give it from other stuff as well?
Yeah, in terms of like giving it, I mean that's the whole Imperial Fist ability. I'm not even sure if it's like something to rate because it's almost impossible to play fists without this. It makes your units more durable. It does lock you down to a defensive playstyle, but nowadays no longer, because you can now use two abilities that deal damage according to Bastion. And I'll remind you that it completely counters sentencing.
Yeah, but if you're going to be running Bastion decks, you're most likely going to be just slapping turrets down everywhere, and those things don't move as it is. But you've got the Black Shields, 2 energy guy with Survivor 2.
Oh yeah, Chieftain.
Sacrifice, yeah. Yeah, he can also give your other stuff Bastion, but that's kind of the only way you can get it outside of the Imperial Fist faction.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
pretty powerful ability, honestly.
it's an annoying ability, and I can't believe they made Rogel Dawn start with Bastion 5.
45 HP Warlord.
Yeah, 45 HP Warlord. Yeah, guess I go fuck myself. Especially when he just stands there giving himself Bastion, then gets to 10 energy, plays Defenders of Terror. Like, okay.
Congratulations, that made a nick.
Yeah, I know only the empirical clarity of getting my rectum reshaped.
I'd say it's a somewhere like, I don't know, somewhere here, I would even say.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a really good mechanic. It's just on a scummy faction.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you think about the passive?
Oh, passive abilities. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I have always, when building decks, looked for more passive abilities than active abilities. And like I can put money on that. It's like I will look for passive abilities over active ones. I will actively choose a worse passive ability over a better active ability because I know the passive is going to be more reliable.
I would actually say this is a wild card because some
Yeah,
of them
it
are
is.
so
It's a wild
strong.
card.
Some of them
Yeah,
are so strong.
well, like New Perty's Ascension.
Or
All troops'
Nyora.
abilities now cost 0. Nyora Sukassin, Jesus Christ, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Mount Pharos. No, not Mount Pharos. That had a relentless. I was
Acleon
thinking of it.
Wordsinger.
Yeah. Like, there was a structure that had a passive and it was like super fucking powerful. I can't remember what it was.
It's the reactor. Like, it was
Yeah.
Nyora, basically.
Yeah, it was the reactor. Yeah.
And the one that made cars cheaper on Lucretia. Ugh.
Oh my god, yeah, I hated that.
So it can range from possible to ignore to
But
borderline
even like
crazy.
Priests of the Old Faith, they're passive.
Yeah, demons.
All demons cost 1 less. Like,
Yeah.
that was practically a mini say no to maintenance for this turn. Like, it's like, here's your energy saved. It's going to be spent next turn.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Like, type of instant value passive. Like, I did enjoy that. So, yeah, it is a wild card.
It's also pretty interesting with Cleave, honestly, because when you have, first of all, when you have it on a
Even Battle
Warlord,
Honor.
when you have it on a Warlord, it's insane. When you have it with Battle Honor, insane. With Flank, insane. If it's a unit without any of those, probably it's trash. But
You've got Drager base, Cleave 1. Like, I made a Drager deck when it was just Cleave 1, and it was effective. And then he got Cleave 2, and I'm like, oh, so
yeah,
I
it's
don't have to
absolutely
do what I
crazy.
do anymore. Yeah, but say like a new Nikona Sharokin. There's a 5 energy troop. I think it's a 5/3, and its rally is give +2 and cleave 2 to a unit this turn. I give it to Sharokin because of his battle honor. Go face into the Warlord, that's 4 damage, and if there's something next to it that's on 2 health, the cleave 2 takes it out, and his battle honor triggers stealth. So I've just dealt 4 damage and gone into stealth.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's a pretty good ability.
Cleave is a good supplemental ability. Like,
Yeah.
remember the old Sons of Horus unit that had Cleave 4 inbuilt?
Yeah, the 4 damage 5 HP one. I remember.
they weren't really that good of a unit and would always be targeted and taken off. But if they stayed out, you were cooking.
I would say it's like similar to Terror in a sense that, like, if it has something
It's
to
blast.
support it, it's blast. Yeah,
Yeah.
something to support it, it's really good.
Yeah.
Or if it's a
Say if
warlord.
say like if we had a concussion type ability like in Warforged, like but into legions. So like say like a passive where it'd be
Oh damn, and it's
attack
stunning
like
everybody.
units attack that are stunned, like slap cleave onto that, but everything's stunned. I've actually
Yeah,
had that happen a couple of times.
yeah, Gordrang used to do that, so I think this is another wild card, honestly, because it really depends on the situation, how good
Yeah.
this is, because place it on a warlord and it's insane. Place it on a flanker, it's insanely good. Place it on somebody that's just dropping and standing there, probably not that good. I'd say wild card.
Yeah.
You gotta
Like, yeah,
really
drop
decide
that
what's
and then
on.
make something attack by itself as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what about Unstoppable and Frontline? So, Unstoppable honestly used to be a big deal, especially when things like Warlords had it. It's
Amadeus Decane again.
yeah, there you go. So,
Yeah, Unstoppable was a great mechanic. It still is, in my opinion.
yeah, I think so too. One of the reasons why Kabanda is so terrifying.
Yeah, and then I slap a Bioblade on him.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit underrated.
Yeah, Unstoppable is an underrated gimmick. I do like running it wherever I can because I I love going face. I am a monkey main myself. It's like if I can avoid hitting a wall, I will avoid hitting a wall.
I'd say it goes high A.
Yeah, high A.
What?
Above Bastion, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty good ability. And honestly, Frontline is a bit of a difficult one. Frontline is our only real defensive ability, but there aren't that many great frontline troops in the game. There are more than they used to be, but this game used to suffer from not having good enough front lines, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of got a boost with say like um Galaxy and Flames and stuff when we started to get more decent front lines like the World Eater vehicle, and we've got stuff. Well, we got stuff like with Malevolence, I think, like 45th section. Like that is a staple guard front line. I am going to miss the 45th section when it rotates.
Yeah, same. I hope we get something to replace it.
Yeah. Like, remember
We
that card entry I made? Put in 145th section on the side of each of your
oh
warlord.
my god.
On each side of your warlord. Yeah, crazy.
I'd say it just goes together with Unstoppable
Yeah,
because
with Unstoppable,
yeah, it's the
it goes hand in
same.
hand.
Yeah, it's like the existence of this is
Yeah.
what makes this so good. So yeah. What do you think
Yeah.
about Streak, by the way? Streak is pretty interesting. Like, it used to be so good when the quest was viable.
Yeah, Jangsai running fucking Ordu of Jagatai. Oh my god. Yeah, Streak can be a broken mechanic. You do need to play a card and then play a card with Streak for the Streak to go off. So, you can't just immediately shoot off the starting line with it. You do have to run a little bit before you can leap. And yeah, the most I've seen with Streak when I've gone up against White Scar players, or been playing White Scars myself. I mainly run Hibu Khan. It's mostly just tempestuous orders and other cheap stuff with Streak that you can just supplement your other cards with. So like Ride the Winds. Like Ride the Winds, it buffs all your vehicles and say tempestuous orders. It brings your vehicle back to your hand, and on Streak it has a mini Ride the Winds built in. And yeah, overall it's a fun gimmick, Streak, but you might as well, if you're playing White Scars right now, just run flankers and fast.
Where would you put it? B or C?
I would go high B tier.
Yeah, maybe like this.
Yeah.
There's like I'll speak a little bit about Quest. Quest is fun, and it's a hard one to really. I think it's again just like with the thing, whatchamacallit, the disorient. It's like mind games because you're
Yeah.
really making your opponent think what the hell is gonna happen. And
And also, a
honestly, yeah,
quest is supposed to be hard.
fair enough. A quest is indeed supposed to be hard, as per Zahariel's words, and I'd say if you're good enough with actually making your choices, this can be a pretty strong ability. Not like
Or just play
insane.
Alisteri, give things flank, and pick the killer troop option.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I would like place this somewhere here as well, like in B tier. Whenever
Yeah.
like you have an ability, but giving flank and just beating the shit out of someone is the better call, it's the problem, man.
I mean, also, like, say, if you're going to throw, like, a front line out with Quest, it's like, yeah, picking the destroyer troop deters that, but then they're going to smack you off with a tactic. Or if you pick that tactic, they might not even have a tactic to smack you off with, and they'll just smack you with a troop. So it can be a detriment to yourself in some ways, unless you're playing it where you know you're going to trigger the quest you're picking.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like that's the problem with these games. Oh, it's fun, but I'll just fast and kill you. So
Yeah, but Dark Angels are the stat stacking faction anyway. Even if you don't get your quest off, you've still got like a 5-5 or a 7-7 out.
yeah, you don't really care.
No, it's more just a haha, look at us, we're hoity toity knights.
And we got poison. I'll leave this one to you.
Poison. Stinky. Old poison. Looking at this from two aspects, old and new poison. Old poison, where, say, like, this is where Relentless was a really good ability over Resolution. Your unit was poisoned, so Old Mortarion would stun your troop, poison it, and then at the end of your turn, it just dies. Unless you're playing Wonders of Tiska for 4 energy, you've just got to accept your troops standing there and dying. New poison, it goes in stacks and does damage. I like both in their own ways, but I preferred old poison more over to the new. I mean, yeah. Go on.
I certainly preferred the old one, but new one is just broken sometimes.
Yeah, new poison, you're just throwing fucking barrels of sludge at people, and it's like, you're in not 1 ton of sludge, you're in 2 tons of sludge. Take 2 poison damage. Oh, your troopers died. And it's like, you might as well have just poisoned it and then left it stunned like the old version. And it's like, okay. Now I have to watch numbers count down and up, as well as watching my things die. And it's like, okay. But yeah, it's a busted mechanic. There's not many ways of removing poison. I mean, yeah, you've got Ferocious Resilience for the World Eaters. That's 4 energy. Heal 4, remove poison. And you've got Sons of Barbarous. That's Death Guard. I think the only neutrals for removing poison would be the Chthonian Orderlies, heal 2 and remove poison. They're Chaos. And the Mechanicum's Life Support, remove poison. If this unit's a Mechanicum unit, also give it Survivor 1. And you're only really taking Life Support if you're running Mechanicum. And that's more for the Survivor 1. So overall, yeah, poison is a broken mechanic because there's not many ways to counter them. So I would say bottom of S tier because it has to be in S tier because
Yeah.
it's too powerful not to put in A.
Yeah, it did have a lot of Death Guard stuff nerfed as well because it was just that strong. So
Yeah.
namely the
When you
two
had
energy
shit like Death
squads.
Cloud, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it was just
9
disgusting.
energy. The enemy's got a full board. Play Death Cloud, and then stun it all. Or even if you've got a full board, Death Cloud, Purity of Will. You've poisoned everything of yours and the enemies. Then you've removed poison from everything of yours. All them notches come down on Mortarian's Whispers, and also you're losing no troops at the end of your turn, and the enemy's probably going to lose all of theirs. And yeah, poison was broken. Now it's even more broken. So S tier.
As for the other things, guys, like Psyker and Plasma, like these are obviously like I'm not even gonna rate it because they have no downsides. They are stats that you need in your faction, and you can't really exist without them. And as for all these negatives, like because I mean, you could ignore it, but for the most part, most units come with it, so it's fine. And as
But
for
teacher,
these,
Vistas of Silence deal additional damage to Psyker units.
oh no!
Remember those cards? Yeah, deal 1 damage to everything.
That's
If
so
they're
stupid, by
Psyker,
the way.
deal 3. Yeah, crazy.
I mean,
But yeah,
I mean, I mean, there are some really crazy things that can happen for sure, but for the most part, it's hard to rate these things because they mostly are just they mostly are just
they
like
are like
empty positive.
additional. Yeah,
And
they're
you know,
semi-cosmetic.
with the negative things like maintenance, berserk, awaken, and so on, you made a good point. It's hard to rate these things because it really depends. Is it on your troop as a negative, or is it that you're placing it on the enemy, or is it
Exactly.
because like think about it, like sometimes it might be a good idea to just abuse the enemy maintenance and just perma-stun their Galruch
Yeah.
and keep them dead.
Or say you've got berserker units like Kabanda and Angrob.
Yes.
Disorient them. They can't choose what they hit. I mean, yeah, they might bypass your frontline unit and hit you in the face, but they could hit their 16 fucking Greater Demon. They could hit their own Garlock.
Yeah, so
So it depends.
these are like not even wild cards. They're like it depends tier. So,
Yeah, it depends.
yeah,
It depends on what our allegiance is. Are we loyalist? Are we traitor? I don't know. It's just Alpha Legion shenanigans.
You're never gonna know if it's Alpha Legion. Maybe it's neither.
All I
Maybe it's
know is
both.
I'm on my side.
And all I know is that the tier list is looking pretty good.
Absolutely.
And
I think we've done really well with this.
And I really want to know what the others think about it. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. And please leave a comment and tell us what you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with. And we'll be seeing you in the next one pretty soon.